And hello, movie lovers, and welcome to the show. This is your host, as always, for Movie Lovers Unite, John D'Agorio. I just want to go on ahead and welcome to the show. So tonight, I'm actually going to be doing a little review of Tokyo Vice Episode 1, The Test. Now, this is actually supposed to be a movie. Instead, they rounded up turning this into an HBOMAX limited series, or it should be renewed for Season 2 pretty soon. But this was actually supposed to be starring originally Daniel Radcliffe. And of course, they winded up changing out actors and stuff like that whenever they decided to do a TV series for it. Matter of fact, Baby Driver star Ansel Elgort is actually playing a character named Jake Elliston, an American journalist from Missouri who moves to Tokyo. And basically, he winds up wanting to be a hotshot reporter for Tokyo, trying to work within the tabloids. Also, too, another thing I want to mention is this. I like how in the first a couple of minutes, we actually developed the character of Jake. Basically, he's a guy who's actually a hotshot reporter, who wants to be a hotshot reporter. But what he does is he goes on ahead and takes this test, and he thinks that he's acing this test, right? And matter of fact, we see him throughout the first episode where he's basically taking this preparing for this test to be working for the tabloids in this whole entire thing where he's actually going to become a journalist. And you know, you think that this kid is actually going to ace this test, but instead he doesn't. As a matter of fact, he ends up completing the test before everybody else was able to finish. And he winds up finding out that there's actually one page left over that he forgot to fill out. Also, too, I like how he's also training in karate and stuff like that in martial arts. So this tells me, okay, this guy can actually defend himself in this world. And also, too, at the very beginning, we actually see Jake. And at this time, it's taking a couple of years after he got his start. As a matter of fact, this TV series actually starts out in 1999. But the Yakuza is actually having a sit down with him. As a matter of fact, it's the Yakuza number 2 right-hand man that's having the sit down with Jake and telling him, hey, look, you cannot be reporting this in this story that you're doing, or else we're going to have to kill you. And then after that, it winds up fast-forwarding into 1999, where he was starting to get his startup. And then, of course, we wind up seeing him take the test, and then we wind up seeing, hey, look, he can do martial arts. So that was some of the other stuff that I really have to say about it. But I also like the fact that this character is very imperfect. And what I mean by that is the fact, yes, he missed a whole page, but that could wind up biting him in the ass later on when we wind up seeing him throughout this whole entire series. Whether that happens or not, I don't know, because I only watched the very first pilot episode. But from the pilot episode itself, I like how they set up this world. I like how they show Tokyo. This is basically a love letter to Tokyo, if you think about it, because of the fact that you see the neon signs that you would see in Tokyo. Also, too, you actually want to know what the crime is like in Tokyo so that way he can be a journalist. Also, too, you have people that actually look down on him. You have the people within the journalist's newspaper itself that looks down on him. They call him a foreigner because he's actually outside his limits. Also, too, you also have the people that are over the journalism, all over the journalist as well, and the people who run the tabloids. And what I like about what they ask him is this. He goes, I heard that Jewish people, because the character happens to be Jewish, he said, I heard Jewish people are the ones who run the country in the United States. He goes, if that was the case, then why am I here? Basically saying that Tokyo is the one who winds up making the money. And basically, that what he heard is not true. But then he winds up getting the job. Like I said, people looking down on him, calling him a journalist. Even this boss that winds up assigning him the assignments that they want him to do. As a matter of fact, they want him to do like puff pieces, if you think about it like that, because of the fact that they cannot report on the crime unless inside the documents saying that somebody died with a stabbing or anything like that. If it says it in the police report, then yeah, they can do that. But considering the fact that it's not in the police report and there's no witness telling him, hey, look, someone got stabbed or mugged, therefore it's hearsay, and therefore he has to report it according to how it's documented into the files itself. And speaking of the files and everything too, I like how Jake is not taking no for an answer and wants to really dive into what's really going on in Tokyo and what's running Tokyo into this underground. And also, too, I also like how he goes up to this building and he is also asking his colleagues, have you seen these symbols? Do you know what this means? And, of course, he winds up going over to the building. And I believe that was actually an underground for the Yakuza, because the Yakuza is actually tied into this show. And then, of course, you wind up finding out that he winds up bribing the police officer to go ahead and show him the file, and of course he winds up bribing him with booze to get the file. So this is actually going to show this is showing you what kind of journalist that Jake is. He's not going to go ahead and take no for an answer. Also, too, I like his buddies that are just busting his balls, and they are actually the ones who accepts him as a mature journalist. So that's something that I really have to say I liked about that. And then you also have another thing that winds up happening, where you have this old man that comes out. You see him wet. You don't know what's going on, and all of a sudden he pours gasoline on himself, and he lights the match. And of course, he winds up being lit. Of course, he winds up catching on fire. And the look on Jake's face is just horrified, but also, too, the audience who's actually seeing this for the first time is also terrified as well, because of the fact that I've never seen a TV series do this before, where they actually show the melting of the face, the destruction of someone that's being killed, being burned alive. Usually they pan away from it, but this time they decided to just show us the graphic, and that was just graphic. Also, too, there's also a scene in there where basically this guy is dead. He gets stabbed with a katana, but considering the fact that it's not in the police documentations or anything like that, Jake has no choice but to go ahead and write it up as the fact that it was an accident, even though that the guy got stabbed by a katana. But Jake doesn't do that. He winds up saying that he got stabbed and things like that. Also, too, he gets in trouble with his boss, and it becomes a whole entire catastrophe inside that tabloid office. And then we wind up finding out that he's also trying to get some advice from the vice police officer, which I like the back and forth between the two of them, because of the fact that he's trying to teach the police officer how to flirt with women, saying pick up women and everything. And he's also trying to teach him about how the tabloids are run, who runs the operations in Tokyo, about the Yakuza. Also, too, when Jake is also watching his hands, he winds up seeing this guy to his right who's watching his hands, and he has a tattoo. The tattoo is, of course, the Yakuza. And the Yakuza has a very specific tattoo. And he also looks at him, and is also bleeding, because, down here in the United States, we actually have something that we actually protect ourselves whenever we first get our tattoos and everything, to make it not scar up or anything like that. With this, he's actually letting it bleed and letting it try to heal natural. And also, too, Jake said, "Oh, you did this the old-fashioned way." The guy from the Yakuza just looks at him, gives him like a go-to-hell look, and he walks out of the bathroom. But I like that how they do that in a sense where you actually get a little bit of the culture of what the Yakuza is. And also, too, you actually see the Yakuza later on in the episode, and you realize how threatening they are. And also, too, you get to see how they're actually submitted into how people are actually submitted into the Yakuza, who is accepted into the Yakuza, rather. But another thing that I want to say, too, is whenever Jake goes and visits the old man's wife, the one that winded up burning himself, he asked her, why did he burn himself? Why did he light himself on fire? And of course, he winded up getting threatened by the Yakuza, and the wife winds up telling him he'd rather go ahead and burn, basically, than to live in a life of shame. And that's what I got from that part, even though that's not exactly how she says it. But basically, he was ashamed of himself going into debt and having to ask people for money, so he'd rather go ahead and burn than having to owe the Yakuza money, and also walk in shame to knowing that he had to ask some dangerous people for money. So that's something that I really liked about it. So as far as the show goes, I really enjoyed it. I am going to go on ahead and try to do another review on this later on. If you guys like this review, let me know, and I'll do more of this and everything, because I love diving into the Yakuza. I love diving into mafioso stuff and things like that. So tell me what you guys think. Did you like Tokyo Vice? Tell me what you think below. Like I said, I only saw one episode. I'm planning on doing another episode pretty soon. Tomorrow, I'm actually going to be doing a non-spoiler review for Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, followed by a spoiler review later on within the hour. So go ahead, check that out whenever I drop that. And I hope that everybody has a great and safe night. And always, until next time, guys, it's been real. It's been fun. Thank you so much. Don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to hit the like button. Don't forget to comment below. And always, until next time, bye-bye.